Welcome back to level construction. The last thing we need to do to finish up this level and make it playable as a deathmatch map is to get some sort of system in place to allow artificially intelligent bots to be able to navigate their way around. Currently, if you could even get a bot into this map, which you can't, and I'll illustrate that in a moment, you'd find that it really wouldn't know where to go. It wouldn't know what parts of the map it was allowed to travel around. It would probably stand generally in one place waiting for a player to come along so it could shoot at it. Now, how do we go about telling a bot where it can and can't go? We do this through the creation of navigation points and navigation paths. This process is generally called bot pathing. You're going to hear it referred to as bot paths and bot pathing a lot. In fact, that's what I'll be calling it throughout this video. Now, how do we actually do bot pathing? Well, we create a series of navigation points, as I mentioned earlier, and these points come in a lot of different forms. There is a generic navigation point that we'll be using, that we'll be placing a lot of them throughout the level, but there are several other things, too, that bots can use to navigate their way around, and it'll make sense once you think about it. These are such things as weapon pickups, or armor pickups, or ammunition, or vehicles even, anything that the AI bot might need in order to complete its mission, which in a lot of cases means shooting at you in some form. If you think about it, a bot really needs to know where the guns are. In most cases, it's trying to get to the guns before you do. So you'll find that a lot of the pickups that you put into your map will serve as some form of navigation point and can be used to help your bots find their way around. Now, currently, we have no navigation points and no bot paths in this level, and because of that, I can't even bring a bot in. Just let me prove this to you real quick. If we right-click somewhere in the map and choose Play from here, but hold Control in order to go into Spectator mode, while you're in spectator mode, you should be able to left-click and lock on to some bot. But we can't. And the reason we can't is that you can't bring a bot into your map unless you have at least one bot path. Now, when I say path, I don't mean some actor. A path is actually a line that stretches between two navigation points. So in order to bring in any kind of a bot, we need at least two navigation points. Let's take a look inside the Actor Classes browser at some of the navigation points we have access to. Inside the Actor Classes browser, you'll see there's a navigation point group, which we can expand, and there are a lot of different things that we can add to help our bots find their way around. We have some things that we've probably seen already up to this point, or you maybe have noticed somewhere in your right-click menu. We have path nodes, we have player starts. These are two very common ones that are going to be scattered throughout your levels in a lot of cases. And then you have some other things, too. All of your pickup factories, including any items, power-ups, weapons, and even vehicles will serve as some form of navigation point to help your bots find out where they're going. So for starters, let's create a singular bot path to help our bots at least find their way around most of this room. And we'll do that by beginning with a weapon locker. So let's expand UT Weapon Locker. I'll click UT Weapon Locker Content. And let's not close the Actor Classes browser. I'll make it quite a bit smaller, and we'll kind of push it off to the side. But I'll leave it open, because I'll probably want it again later. And so we have these two tanks here inside this room. Let's right-click here in the corner, kind of in between these two guys. And we'll get on to Add UT Weapon Locker Content here. Boom! We have a weapon locker. But we're not done with it. We can't just walk away from it. There are a couple of things we need to do that are required. One, we need to tell what kind of guns are on it. I mean, what good is a weapon locker unless it's packing, you know what I'm saying? So let's start off by double-clicking on it. We'll open up its properties, and under UT Weapon Locker, we have the weapons property, which by default is empty. We need to add a couple of indices to this array, so we'll start off by clicking Add New Item, and under Index 0, we have Weapon Class. What should we put in this first class, Logan?
I don't know. Let's grab a flat cannon. You've always got to have a flat cannon.
Always have to have the flat cannon. It's like a staple of the Unreal series. So that's cool. Let's maybe put another weapon in there. So we'll expand. Now we have Index 1. So now we have two separate weapons. And I'll choose this one. We'll do the Stinger. I'm a big fan of the Stinger. I'm not sure why. So let's go ahead and close that. We have our weapons installed, but we're still not done with this weapons locker. You might have actually picked this up from one of the previous videos that we've recorded in this series, but because this is a pickup base, it does require a pickup light. So let's choose Add Pickup Lights, and then we'll add our little green light to our weapons locker, and all is good there. Now, we know, and we've already established, that this weapons locker expands from the navigation point class. So this will be used as a navigation point. We just need one more navigation point in order to create one path. And what I'm going to use is a player start, which you can see listed under navigation path as well. You don't really have to use it from there, though. You can right-click at any point on your floor. And if you scroll down under Add Actor, you'll always find player starts, because in general, you're going to need a lot of them. Now, currently, we don't see the icon for it because I'm in game mode. If I tap the G key, it is going to become visible. And I'm going to reposition it just a little bit. We'll put it right in between these screens and maybe pull it out just a little bit from the wall, just because I think it looks better there. Okay, so now we have 2 navigation points. We should be able to get 1 navigation path to control a bot, but in order to get these paths, we have to build our paths. And you might remember this from some of the building videos earlier. Up at the very top under our build buttons, you see that we have build paths. Let's go ahead and click on that and give that just a moment. And we get a couple of warnings. 1, UT Weapon Locker, only 1 player start in this level. We need at least 16. Okay, you don't absolutely have to have 16. It's just a good idea. It's kind of one of the rules for a deathmatch map. Because this particular level we have built is so tiny, we're not going to cram 16 player starts in here. We'll probably have 3 or 4, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, we do have a problem here, though. Our map lighting needs to be rebuilt because of that pickup. So let's close, and let's just go ahead and click on Build Lighting. This will take... Ooh, I got to click a button, too. I forgot that was a 2-button process. Always bites me because I'm so used to clicking the Build All button. Now let's give it a second to build our lighting, which should be a pretty fast process in this map.
It won't take too long. Just give it a second to get a... We've got a bit more resolution on some of the walls and the floor, of course, so it'll take just a minute, but once we get past that, we'll have all of the light rebuilt, we'll have that weapon light accounted for, and all will be well.
There you go. And actually, we can already talk about some of the things we see here. We already have a navigation path visible. And you see this blue and this green line back here in the background. And in a second, we'll be done encoding our light maps. Oh, look, no errors. I never see that, actually. There's always something it's griping about, especially when we're recording these videos. All right, so let's take a look at our navigation paths. We have 2 lines, one going from our player start to the weapon locker. You'll notice it's got a little tiny green arrow at the end of it, and another one coming back the other way, and they crisscross over one another. You'll also notice there's a little bit of color coding here. Bot paths, you will find, will be color-coded, and there is a method to the madness, and I'm just going to go over the various colors you're going to find, not necessarily in the order in which you see them. I've just got them listed here in my notes. You'll find orange paths. These are for flying paths, so if you use a flying vehicle. And orange designates a path that is fairly narrow. Because actually what's going on here is that Unreal can keep track of the amount of room that you have to move from one point to the next, and based on the amount of room it finds, it's going to color code that node. Now, why is this important to you? Well, some larger characters can't get into narrower spaces, or especially vehicles. If you have a very large vehicle, it can't make it into a really tight quarter, so it's helpful for Unreal to know how much room it has to go from one point to the next. So again, orange is going to be a flying path that is narrow. Light orange will be a wide flying path. Light purple will require a high jump or some higher than normal jump capability, like the jump boots or something. A blue path, which we actually see here, is a narrow path. Green is a normal width path, which is interesting because it says going in one direction we have a narrow path, and going back in the exact opposite direction we have a normal path. That's great. We have white for wide, pink for a very wide path, probably the kind of thing you could take a vehicle down, yellow for a forced path. So if you're having a hard time getting a path in between 2 particular navigation points and you want to force them to have a path in between the 2, we can do that. And I'll take a look at that a little bit later in this video. And we have purple, which is an advanced path, which is going to require some sort of intelligence calculation to be employed. There's also red paths, and those are proscribed paths, which basically means that you have told your bots not to use that path. It's been calculated. It comes up when you build your paths, but you're telling your bots it's a no-no and they shouldn't be using it. All right, with that, we have a path in place. Let's go ahead and right-click on our floor. We'll go back down to play from here and hold down Control. And now if I left-click, we have a bot, and he immediately runs and gets the flat cannon. And now let's take a look at what he's doing. He is running back and forth. So yeah, not necessarily the most intelligent bot. He's wavering a little bit. He's got a little bit of motion in there. But he is starting to be able to find his way around the map. He can't get very far because he's only got one little path to work with, but it's a start. Then you can kind of see how these paths are working. Now here's the cool thing. If we get over here where we're well out of his visual range, at least for starters, let's go ahead and just choose a regular play from here. And then I'm going to bring down the console, and we're going to type add bots, one word, not bats, but bots. I can type, really. And we'll add 1, So space 1, and okay, we have a bot. You can see him doing the exact same thing he was doing a second ago. He grabbed a gun, which actually sucks because that means he's a lot better armed than I am. And he's running back and forth. And so now we can shoot at him. Oh, and he took me out. So notice that, though. As soon as he laid eyes on me, he came after me with a vengeance. And, oh, we're in the same room, so he's going to try to kill me again unless I run really fast and get trapped in the slime. Oh, no, he still got me. So you can see that even with just the minimal amount of bot pathing in place, there is some rudimentary intelligence in place that allow these guys to put up a pretty good fight. But from here on out, we need to start thinking about how we're going to get these bots to run all throughout our level. Now, the very first thing I would recommend when you're taking care of your bot pathing is to figure out where your pickups are going to go. So you'll put in the various things, the vital things that you and your other players and your bots are going to need to pick up. Things like weapons, ammunition, various health pickups, power-ups, any vehicles, which we're not going to be using vehicles in a map this small. But get all of those laid out first. And then you can use your standard path nodes to figure out how you're going to get your bots to go from point A to point B. Okay, so let's begin by putting in a few pickups of our own. Let's put something here on this little cross beam of the bridge. So I'm just going to start with this room. I'm not going to really pick on doing downstairs and upstairs. I'm sure at this point you guys are very familiar with how this level is laid out, so we can freely roam about. Let's re-expand navigation path, and I'll expand pickup factory and UT pickup factory. Logan, what do you think we should put up here?
Let's see, for a pickup, do you want to do maybe some type of either a light power-up or maybe a health file? Something.
Let's do a health, or some sort of health file. We'll go to item pickup factory, and we have ammo, armor, and health. Let's expand health, and what should we put in here?
Let's do a health file. Just since the health file can generally increase your health above 100, that means the bot would have a reason to go grab it right off the bat.
That works.
Even before he's injured.
All right, well, let's go ahead and right-click, and we'll choose Add UT Pickup Factory Health Vial here. And now, when I'm playing Unreal, I generally see like a line of these things.
So we could almost line that one walkway piece with several of them.
Exactly. Let's just go ahead and hold the Alt key, and we'll drag one out, and then we'll let off Alt and hold it down again and drag another one out, and then just repeat that a few times. I have no idea how many I'm going to add. We'll just put these in a nice little row. Maybe one more. That looks fairly even. I mean, it could be evened out a little better, but there we go. We do have some sort of item up here on the walkway that should help us get from point A to point B. I mean, we're going to have bots who will want to pick those up, definitely. We have some guns down here on the lower floor. I can't think of anything else we really need to pick up in this room. Let's maybe come over here, and we'll put a pickup, say, right over here in front of this generator. I'm not really sure why, but I think it's a good place for it. We've already got a health pickup, so let's take a look at maybe an armor pickup. Let's say the helmet. We'll put a helmet right here. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And over here, we had, well, what did we put on here? We put a flat cannon and the Stinger, right? Well, the Stinger comes with a bunch of ammunition, but I'm a big flat cannon fan from way back. So let's come over here to ammo, and we'll grab the flat cannon UT ammo. You'll notice I'm just expanding these various groups, and they're pretty nicely labeled. You see UT ammo pickup factory. Expand that, find flat cannon. We'll right-click here on the floor and choose Add UT ammo flat cannon here. I'll hold down Alt, and we'll just drag out one more copy. So there's plenty of ammo there for somebody to pick up, especially for a map like this. So now we've got some more ammunition. Maybe some stuff up on the upper deck in this other room would be good. How about I don't know, what do you think? Maybe another weapon pickup?
That'd be good. Kind of balance the map out so that if
they're not all in one room?
Right, so if one person's in a different end of the map, they have a chance to get a fairly equal set of armament.
What do you think? Shock rifle?
Oh, yeah. Gotta have a shock rifle.
I think we got it.
You need a shock rifle to balance out the flat cannon.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and go down to not weapon locker, but just UT weapon pickup factory. We'll place it right here at the intersection. And just like the other one, we need to tell what kind of weapon will be in it, so we'll double-click on it to get to its properties. Under UT weapon pickup factory, just take the weapon pickup class, and we'll set this to shock rifle. Now, I don't think in all the times I've been playing Unreal, I can't recall a time where I saw a shock rifle and there wasn't some form of ammunition somewhere nearby. So let's go ahead and put at least a couple pieces of ammo, maybe over here against the wall. So let's see, back under Item Pickup Factory, let's go under Ammo, and we have Shock Rifle. Let's just right-click and add that here, and then we'll just hold down Alt and put one on the other side, kind of balanced on either side of that. Okay, so there's all of those pickups. I think that's going to work. I don't really want to overdo it. Besides, I still want to be able to put in at least a couple of standard path nodes to get our bots around, rather than relying on nothing but goodies. Although, it might be a little more balanced if we put something right here in front of this generator, because we've got something in front of that generator. So let's see, we've got a little bit of health, we've got a little bit of armor. What do you think? You have a suggestion?
Looking through, we've got maybe a different kind of...
different kind of armor?
Yeah, maybe something like thigh pads, something.
All right, let's do thigh pads. Put it right. I'm trying to get Logan's expert
opinion. Theme the generators. That gives a reason to go over to each generator as in gameplay form as though they're a source of health and pickup.
That's right, and apparently it placed it at an angle, so I clicked on the wrong surface.
It apparently picked up on the angle on the edge of that static mesh that was the base for the generator.
That's right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that. We're going to replace it, because I don't want to worry about rotating it. We'll just go ahead and place it like so. Okay, so we have thigh pads, we have a helmet. I think we're good on all of our pickups. And, you know, I don't want to make light of the pickup placing process, because, you know, your pickups are really going to control the balance and the overall flow and feel of your level. So it's not the kind of thing where you're going to go, oh, I think this should go here and that should go here. It's something you really want to plan out and think about and do a lot of testing with and see what works and see what doesn't and get feedback. You know, it's not something you want to take lightly.
Exactly. It's one of those things where you really do have to play the map thoroughly to start to get a feel for how it's laying out, because in that one room with the helmet and the thigh pads, that might be too much armor for the room. In a real map, you might need to spread those out. Try to spread different items to different corners of the map to always force the players to always run somewhere else.
Absolutely.
But again, that's an in-depth process and a continual process. You have to continue to test and make sure you get a good feel for how everything is working.
And in this case, it just might work because we have one room with a whole bunch of really big guns, and the room right next door has some really good armor. So maybe, you know, the guy who gets the guns and then the other guy gets the armor, maybe the guy with the armor has a chance to survive long enough to get a gun. Who knows? But it's the kind of thing where you're going to have to play through the map several times before you see what does and doesn't work. And this is just for demonstration purposes. Now, as we mentioned earlier on in this video, all of these different things that we have created are going to serve as some form of navigation point. So what I'm going to do is click on Build Paths, and we'll probably get a few errors here and there. So we need some pickup lights. We need to rebuild our lighting. Still griping about that one player start, so we'll fix that here in just a moment. Let's go to Tools and add our pickup lights that we need. And let's talk about some other points. Oh, look at all of those nice little path nodes. But we need to go ahead and maybe add a few more places to spawn in. Let's say we've got one here in this room. Maybe some spot up here on this walkway would be good. I don't want to spawn somebody right in the middle of all that health. Maybe right here in the middle of this walkway would work. So let's just go down to Add Actor, Player Start. So yeah, they'll be really close to the health, but that's okay. They're not super close. Let's maybe spawn somebody right up here in the middle of this walkway. And then we'll also spawn somebody down below as well. So we'll put that. We don't want to put anybody right on top of the armor, so we'll put them right here on this walkway. And I think with that, we've got enough player starts for this particular level. Now, granted, it's still going to tell us we need 16 because it's a DM map, but we're not going to worry about that in this particular case. Okay, now let's go ahead and rebuild our paths and see what other problems we have. Lighting needs to be rebuilt, and only 4 player starts. Of course, we're not worried about the player start, so let's go ahead and just build our lighting and click OK. We'll give this just a moment.
Once again, just taking into account all of the new pickup lights that have been created.
That's right.
Make sure that everything gets built and is ready to go for gameplay.
Now, we've already got some bot paths that have been created automatically. In fact, we get this nice pink arcing line. That's actually a translocator line. So if a bot was here, if it was standing here and had the translocator, it would know that it could translocate over to that weapon locker so it could pick up a gun. And that's really well and good, but why doesn't it just walk over there? It's because we haven't told it that it can just yet. The problem is that right now, our paths are kind of all over the place. They don't really have a nice ordered flow yet, and you can't get to all the corners of this room yet.
It's almost like they're fragmented. We have different path networks, but they've all been separated into different rooms. There's no navigation to join the rooms together.
That's right. That's a really good way to put it, too, is fragmented. Now, before we get into the process of really cleaning this up and starting to get everything navigated, there's some other gameplay elements that I want to add that will end up serving as navigation points, though they probably won't be all that important to the bots in this particular particular map, and that's teleporters. We've got these two little closet-like rooms that we added when we were constructing the level, and it would be nice if we could teleport in between the two. So you get to see how to set up a teleporter, which is fairly easy. Let's expand navigation point, and you'll see teleporter. Let's expand that, and you'll see UT teleporter base, and within that you'll see the UT teleporter. Let's just place one of these into this little closet-like room, like so. And because we have real-time feedback on, you get some really cool effects that come along with this. Now, I think the light should probably be a little bit tweaked here, because this thing is primarily orange, so we should maybe orange out our light just a little bit. So I'll double-click on our light. Let's take a look at its settings. It's a little yellowed. I think I'm going to push it just a little bit more orange. Not that you did a bad job with lighting, Logan. It looks fantastic.
Right, but I didn't have a teleporter placed yet, so I didn't have a good basis of what color to pick.
That's right. I'm going to push the brightness up just a little bit. Actually, let's say up to about 0.75. Or I'm going to try anyway. Apparently my number lock key was not on. I love that. And I'll push up my fall-off exponent as well. So we fall off a little bit. Actually, with that, I think I'm going to push my brightness up even higher. So we have some light that's kind of concentrated right here on the teleporter. When we rebuild, I'll know for sure if that's working, and I can always tweak it again later. Okay, so there's one teleporter in place. I'm not even going to just drop another one. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this one. I don't know why. I just want to. I want to use duplication. It makes me happy. We'll slide it over, and we'll lift it up to the floor. Also, this does allow me to show one thing you might not have had a chance to see yet, which is that we can right-click on something and go to Align and Align to Floor, and just snap it right down to the ground, which is very cool and a lot of fun. We got a light in here as well. I'm going to nuke it. So we'll hit delete and make it go away, and then we'll pop down here to this light that we created, which is buried inside of our teleporter somewhere. I love that big plane. That's just right in my way. Thank you.
I wonder if momentarily maybe kicking off real-time would help.
It probably would, but I can't get over how pretty that is. And I do have the light now, so I think we'll be all right. All right, so we've got our light. Let's kind of get him a little bit lined up by moving him in the proper axis. And this time I'll put him just a little bit over the teleporter so that if I need to select him, I can. Okay, now we have our teleporters in place, but currently they won't work for us. We need to do a couple of things. First off, as a general rule, you'll notice these teleporters are directional. They have a little tiny blue arrow. Point that arrow where you want the teleporter to be looking. So if you've played UT and you've seen these teleporters before, this little white or yellowish area serves as kind of a window into where you're teleporting. And that the direction of that camera, if you will, is designated by the direction of this arrow. So what I'm going to do is rotate this whole thing toward the door. So just make sure this is pointing right at the door. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn off real time, get that guy out of the way. And it doesn't want to go away just now, but that's all right. So there we go. Point it at the door, and let's point this one at the door as well. There we go. That's much better. Okay, excellent. Now we need to adjust some properties. So I'm going to double-click on either one of these. And setting up a teleporter is as easy as setting up a tag and a URL. A tag is kind of like a named alias that you'll use to refer to a certain teleporter, and the URL is going to be the alias of some other teleporter that you're sending to. So what I'm going to do is start off by setting our tags on both of our teleporters. We're going to call this teleporter on the bottom lower port, and then we'll go up to the other one, and we'll select it. And we'll set its tag to upper port. Excellent. Now let's take a look at that URL. Again, the URL is where you're sending this object. And this can hold all sorts of stuff. In fact, the tooltip's got some interesting tips. You can even send players to different servers using this. So what we're going to do is set the URL for our upper port to lower port. And we'll go down to the lower port. And we're going to set its URL to, you guessed it, upper port. And really with that we're done. Oh, well, make sure it keeps and you don't cover it over with a backslash like I did. Okay, now the last thing you're going to need to do is rebuild your paths, because it's only at the path building time that the little camera actually gets activated so that the teleporters can see where they're going. So rebuild our paths. We got a few problems, but we already kind of know about those. We'll go ahead and just click close. And I think we could probably give this a try. Our lighting's going to look a little funny, but let's just see what it looks like and see if we can work with it. Alright, so here we go. Yes, we know lighting needs to be rebuilt, but there we go. And bink! Alright, teleports us. And we can back right back through. And also notice this. Watch the door close. And as we come back to the teleporter, you can still see it closing. So that is a live camera.
Very nice. It could be very helpful if you want to peer into the location you're about to teleport to, see if it's dangerous, see if it's safe.
Exactly.
Really kind of cool.
Yeah, sit there and you just like two people staring at each other, getting ready to shoot when one of them goes through. It's like a standoff on the teleporter. Okay, so with that, we have all of the gameplay elements of our navigation system in place. The last thing we need to do is actually set up the network that we'll use to flesh out and finalize our navigation system within this level. But I'm going to hold off and actually set that up in the next video. So that's going to wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot.